What would you do if the only place left for you to go was the one place that once terrified you the most? A place no one visits, no one talks about, and a place where someone might already be waiting. For Seou, the storm outside wasn't the real problem. It was the one she chose to walk into. A younger Seou stands at the entrance, hesitant and afraid. Beside her is a boy, Wonhyeok. His expression is calm, almost unsettling. He looks at her and quietly tells her that no one will find them there. Something about the way he says it sends a chill through her body. She doesn't stay long enough to understand it. Fear takes over, and she runs, thinking to herself that there is a darkness deeper than the bunker within him. The present returns on a stormy school day. Inside the classroom, whispers move from one student to another. They talk about the tall wall near the bunker, saying something strange came from there, which is why it's being torn down. While they laugh among themselves, one of the girls suddenly loses her balance. Her hand slams into Seu's desk, shoving it hard into her side. The impact hurts, but instead of apologizing, they laugh. One of them casually says to ignore her, calling her dramatic and accusing her of doing it for attention. Seou stays quiet, swallowing the pain as if she is used to it. When school ends early, Seou returns home, hesitant even to open the door. As she steps inside, her aunt greets her warmly, but her uncle immediately says she should have come home later. Seou quietly explains that school ended early. Her aunt tells her to go get some rest, but as Seou walks toward her room, her aunt suddenly asks if Jiwon is still inside. The door opens, and Jiwon steps out, the same girl from school. She pushes past Seou without a second glance and complains loudly to her mother, saying not again, that Seou will be home all the time during the break, and that her room is already cramped. Her mother responds that there is nowhere else for Seou to go. Jiwon snaps back, asking why that means they have to be stuck with her. Even her father joins in, agreeing and questioning why they should be the ones to take care of her. Seou stands silently behind the door, hearing every word. Then the door suddenly opens. Her aunt notices her standing there and gently tells her not to mind it, saying Jiwon is just sensitive today. Seou lowers her gaze and simply says thank you for taking care of her. Her aunt hesitates before asking if she could perhaps stay at a friend's house just for the night, saying she doesn't want Seou to feel uncomfortable. Seou understands. She believes her aunt is not trying to push her away, only assuming she has somewhere else to go. She thanks her again, but when she opens the bag her aunt gives her, something inside shocks her, leaving her frozen for a moment. Soon after, she finds herself standing alone on top of the high wall, the rain pouring down harder than ever. Her thoughts spiral. Standing at the edge, she admits the truth. She doesn't have the courage to end her life. Then she saw the bunker and decided to take shelter in it from the rain. She steps inside the bunker. The corridor stretches long and narrow into darkness, covered in dirt and decay. It looks untouched, as if time itself abandoned it. Using her phone as a light, Seou carefully moves forward. She finds an old bathroom and washes her soaked clothes. Afterward, she discovers what seems to be an old living area. A worn-out couch sits in the corner, and without thinking, she collapses onto it, exhausted. But then, suddenly, a sound breaks the silence. A loud creak echoes through the darkness. Seou's eyes snap open. Another noise follows, a heavy thud that sends her heart racing. Something is wrong. She looks toward the entrance, and that's when she sees it. The hatch is open. She freezes. She clearly remembers closing it when she came in. She knows she did. She begins walking toward the darkness to investigate. Suddenly, the lights flicker on. A figure stands deep within the shadows, barely visible, and then slowly starts walking toward her. Seou is frozen in place until she notices something that makes her blood run cold. There is blood on his clothes. She turns and runs toward the exit. The figure follows, her mind racing, realizing the clothes look like a school uniform. But before she can reach the hatch, a hand slams it shut. The sound echoes like a final warning. She's trapped. Her body trembles as she slowly turns toward the boy. It was the boy whom she had run away from when she was young. It was Wonhyeok. Seou calls his name, her voice trembling. Wonhyeok turns toward her, And in that moment, everything feels heavier. His hands are stained with blood. His clothes are soaked in it. Anyone would be terrified by a sight like that. But for Seou, it's worse. Because it's him, and because of the label that has always followed him. Her mind drifts back to the past. There was a time when things were different. Back in elementary school, when Seou had just transferred after losing her parents in a car accident. She was only 10 years old when she came to live with her aunt. Everything around her felt unfamiliar, and the only person she could rely on was her cousin, Ji-won. Since they were the same age, Seou ended up in the same class, following her around like she had nowhere else to go. She tried to fit in with Ji-won and her friends, but after everything she had been through, it wasn't easy. Instead of truly belonging, she found herself lingering just outside their circle, never fully part of it. One night, everything began to change. Seou woke up to what sounded like a woman screaming. She moved toward the window and looked outside. That's when she saw him for the first time. A boy sitting alone on the stairs outside. He looked about her age. Quiet. Sad. From that day on, he appeared there at the same time, every single day. Seou began to watch him from her window. She didn't speak to him. She didn't approach him. But somehow, just watching him made her feel less alone. One day, Ji-won noticed her looking outside and told her to stay away from him. She said he was in another class and that he was the son of a murderer. He had transferred to their school to hide it, but everyone already knew. The story had spread everywhere. When Seou asked about the screaming, Ji-won casually said it was probably his mother. She had witnessed the murder and lost her sanity. To Ji-won, it was nothing more than an inconvenience, something annoying that had moved in next door. When Seou looked outside again, the boy was gone. One day, Seou saw a group of boys gathered near a gate. As she got closer, she realized it was his house. They had covered the gate with graffiti, cruel words written without hesitation. She froze. Then the gate opened. Wonhyeok stepped out. Without saying anything, he began cleaning it. Seou could only watch. She didn't know what to do. Then he noticed her. He told her to leave. That was the first time they stood face to face, and she ran. Even at school, Wonhyeok stood apart from everyone else. He skipped classes, came and went as he pleased, carried an empty backpack, and sometimes didn't even wear shoes. Everything about him made him an outcast. But to Seou, he didn't look dangerous. He looked tired. The way he slumped over his desk reminded her of how he sat on those stairs every night. And without realizing it, she began to worry about him. One day, while walking through the school, Seou stopped to tie her shoelaces. By the time she looked up, Ji-won and her friends had already left her behind. Alone in the quiet hallway, she noticed a classroom door slightly open. She hesitated, then stepped closer. Inside, something felt off. A broom was wedged against a closet door, holding it shut. Curious, she pulled it away and opened the door. And suddenly, something collapsed onto her. It was Wonhyeok. He was unconscious. Seou panicked and tried to wake him, asking if he was all right, asking what he was doing inside. But then she noticed something worse. He was struggling to breathe. She thought about calling for help, about finding a teacher. But before she could move, he grabbed her. His grip was tight. Desperate, he told her not to leave. It was the first time she had seen him up close. For so long, she had only watched him from a distance. But now, he was right in front of her, trembling. She didn't pull away. Instead, she gently reached out and patted his back, trying to calm him down. Slowly, his breathing steadied. The tension in his body eased. In that moment, Seou realized something. If she hadn't opened that door, if she hadn't found him, he might have stayed trapped there, alone, in the dark, for who knows how long. After that day, something changed between them, and the only reason Seou was able to reach out to him was because she saw the same shadow in him that she saw in herself. But then, he suddenly stopped coming to school. One day passed, then two, then three. As Seou walked home, she couldn't stop thinking about it. She wondered if he was still sick, or if something had happened. That's when she saw him. Wonhyeok quietly cleaning the graffiti on the gate again. The moment he noticed her, he froze, then quickly rushed inside and slammed the door shut. Seou stood there, confused. She wondered if he had run away because of her, if he was avoiding her now. Without thinking too much, she called out his name. There was a pause before she spoke again, telling him that an eraser might work better to clean the gate. She reached over and handed one to him from above. Then she told him to come to school the next day to return it. And just like that, she walked away. Wonhyeok stood there, holding the eraser in his hand. On it, her name was written clearly. The next day, he came back to school. After that, something unexpected began to happen. Wonhyeok started following Seou around. And unlike the way he acted around others, cold and distant, he seemed different when he was with her. Before, Seou used to watch him from her window as he sat alone on the stairs. Now, they spent time together instead. But nothing good lasts forever. Because not long after, something happened. And Seou abandoned him. The memory fades, and the present crashes back in. Seou's body trembles as she stands in the bunker, facing Wonhyeok. His voice cuts through the silence, telling her not to go outside. Before she can react, her phone slips from her hand and falls down the stairs. Wonhyeok tells her it's dangerous and suggests they move away from the stairs. They both step down, the air around them growing heavier with every step. Seou's thoughts begin to spiral. Dangerous. Why can't she leave? What is happening outside? And more importantly, why is he covered in blood? A terrifying thought crosses her mind. Did he kill someone? They both suddenly stop moving. A faint sound echoes in the silence. Drip, drip. Seou slowly turns her head. The blood falling onto the ground, each drop louder than the last. Her fear deepens. If he really did something, then there's no telling what he might do to her. Especially to her. The one who left him behind. But then another thought follows. If she can keep him calm, if she can understand him the way she used to, maybe she can find a way out. This might be her only chance. Seou forces herself to move. She steps closer and suddenly grabs his hand. Her voice steadies as she points out that he's bleeding. She asks if he's okay, saying the wound looks deep. She mentions that bunkers usually have first aid kits and suggests he should wash up while she looks for one. But inside, her thoughts are completely different. Is he going to believe this? Am I being too obvious? I don't even remember how I used to talk to him back then. She adds that they can talk after he cleans himself, trying to keep her tone calm. Suddenly, Wonhyeok pulls his hand away. Seou's heart drops instantly. She thinks she pushed too far, that he saw right through her. But instead, he simply tells her to move, because she's blocking the bathroom door. For a moment, she freezes. Then he opens the door and steps inside. Before closing it, he says something that makes her pause. It's raining hard outside. Don't go out. And then the door shuts. Seou stands there, confused. Was it really that easy? Then why did he warn her not to leave? It doesn't make sense. But she doesn't have time to think. This is her chance. She quickly turns, planning to grab her phone and escape while he's inside. But when she looks down, it's gone. Her phone is nowhere to be found. Panic starts to rise again. Then, from inside the bathroom, Wonhyeok calls her name. She freezes. He calls her again. She still doesn't answer. The silence stretches. And then his voice comes again, colder this time. If she doesn't answer, he's going to come out. Even without his shirt. Seou stands frozen outside the bathroom, her mind racing. Is he really going to come out just to check if she's still trapped? The thought alone makes her heart pound. A faint splash from earlier that she heard crosses her mind, and for a second she wonders if it had been her phone being dropped into the sink. The bathroom door creaks slightly, and panic pushes her to speak. She quickly says she's still there. From inside, Wonhyeok calmly asks her to bring him a towel, mentioning that there should be some near the stairs. Seou responds immediately, forcing her voice to stay steady, and turns away. The moment she reaches the stairs, she runs. Her thoughts spiral as she climbs. This is her chance. It's now or never. She can't stay trapped here with him. She grabs the handle of the hatch and pulls. It doesn't move. She tries again, harder this time. Nothing again and again. She pulls at it, but the hatch refuses to open. Panic starts to rise in her chest. The handle won't budge. Is it broken? Is it because the bunker is so old? Why now, of all times? Then, well, Wonhyeok calmly says it might be faster if he gets the towel himself. Seou freezes. She didn't even hear him come up. Before she can react, he steps closer and reaches for the handle. He examines it briefly and says it looks like it's stuck. Seou's mind goes blank. When did he get behind her? Her foot slips slightly on the stairs. For a split second, she loses her balance. But before she can fall, Wonhyeok catches her. His grip is firm as he steadies her, telling her that he warned her the stairs were dangerous. Seou quickly steps back, trying to create distance, her voice shaking as she reminds him about the towel. He simply replies that he knows and moves past her. As he walks away, Seou's thoughts begin to shift again. Then she notices something. Her phone. It's lying between two water tanks. Her breath catches. So that sound earlier, it wasn't him throwing it away. Wonhyeok's voice calls out from below, asking why she isn't coming down. She quickly answers that she's on her way, trying to sound normal. But before she can move, he says something else. He tells her that the hatch probably won't open anymore, that if it's shut too hard, it locks. He says it casually, almost like a warning, telling her not to waste her energy trying to open it, and then he disappears back into the bathroom. Seou stands there, completely still. Her thoughts begin to unravel. How does he know that? Why does he know this place so well? Did he shut it on purpose? Because he knew it would lock. Her hands begin to tremble. Slowly, she picks up her phone and walks back down. Inside the bathroom, Wonhyeok quietly washes the blood from his clothes. As if nothing is wrong, Seou quickly checks her phone. No signal. Of course, they're underground. A cold realization sinks in. There's no way to call for help. The roads outside are closed because of the demolition. No one is coming. No one even knows she's here. Her breathing becomes shallow. Is she really trapped here? Her thoughts spiral as fear takes over. Why have you trapped me here? Inside the bathroom, Wonhyeok pauses. He reaches into his pocket and pulls out a knife. For a moment, he stares at it, remembering how it had been covered in blood just moments ago. Then, slowly, he closes it and slips it back into his pocket. His gaze shifts toward the door, toward Seou. Back then, she had once peeked through a half-open door and witnessed something she could never forget. Wonhyeok stood there with blood on his hands while another boy lay unconscious on the stairs nearby. The moment Wonhyeok looked toward her, fear took over her entire body. At the time, only one thought crossed her mind. Did he push him? The memory fades. Her thoughts spiral as she tries to make sense of everything happening around her. Did he trap her down there on purpose? Is this revenge for abandoning him years ago? The hatch is locked. There's no signal, and he seems to know the bunker far too well. Trying to stay calm, Seou asks how long he has been coming there. Wonhyeok casually replies that it has been a few years. That answer only makes her more uneasy. If he has been there before, then he probably knows how to open the hatch too. Seou quickly realizes something important. Right now, Wonhyeok is her only way out. The two of them continue walking deeper into the corridor. The bunker feels endless, each step swallowed by darkness and silence. At one point, Seou notices a strange door with a different color from the others. Before she can ask about it, Wonhyeok calmly tells her it's locked. The way he says it makes her suspicious. Why is that door different? What's inside it? Wonhyeok ignores her curiosity and opens another room nearby. The lights flicker on, revealing what looks like an old infirmary. Wonhyeok quietly sits on one of the beds and begins wrapping gauze around his injured hand. The moment Seou sees that, she realizes this might be her chance. She slowly sits beside him and asks if it hurts. The wound looks serious. Outwardly, she tries to sound concerned, but internally she is carefully calculating every word. Earlier, acting worried about him seemed to calm him down. Maybe pretending to be her old self again is the best way to earn his trust. She gently asks what happened to him, but quickly adds that he doesn't have to answer if he doesn't want to. Then she offers to help bandage his arm, saying it must be difficult doing it alone. Wonhyeok looks at her quietly before refusing. He tells her she'll get blood all over herself. That response feels strange. Instead of wanting help, he seems uncomfortable with the idea of her touching the blood at all. Trying not to overthink it, Seou offers to find scissors for him instead. She bends down to search through the nearby drawers. Suddenly, a hand grabs her ankle. Seou flinches in fear. Her heart nearly stops. Wonhyeok calmly tells her to stay still, because there's glass stuck in her foot. Only then does she notice the sharp piece embedded in her skin. Carefully, he removes it. Then he quietly explains that there's broken glass scattered throughout the corridor, and that she should always wear shoes while walking around the bunker. After putting a bandage on her foot, he lets go. Seou stares at him, confused. The person she thought hated her, the person she believed trapped her there for revenge, had just carefully treated her injury without hesitation. Unable to understand him at all anymore, Seou suddenly stands up and says they should get some sleep. Without waiting for a response, she quickly leaves the room. Later that night, Seou lies on the old sofa while Wonhyeok rests on the floor across from her. Seou secretly glances toward him. Is he still awake? Her thoughts become increasingly conflicted. Earlier, she was convinced he hated her, convinced he wanted revenge. But now, she doesn't know what to think anymore. Even so, she forces herself to stay alert. Just in case. She tells herself she shouldn't fall asleep. What if he tries something while she's vulnerable? But the exhaustion slowly wins. And eventually, Seou drifts off to sleep. Then Wonhyeok slowly stands over her sleeping figure. He quietly looks down at her face. Then he lies down on the floor beside her, his eyes shift toward her hand. A memory crosses his mind, remembering the way they used to hold hands years ago. Slowly, he reaches his own hand toward hers. And in a quiet voice barely above a whisper, he says to himself, she hasn't changed at all. When Wonhyeok was younger, his mother looked direct in his eyes and she told him that he was becoming just like his father. And if he continued to resemble him any more than he already did, she would have no choice but to kill him herself. The memory lingers in his mind even after he wakes up, still lying on the cold floor. The knife is still in his pocket. For a moment his breathing is uneven, but then his gaze shifts towards Seou sleeping peacefully on the sofa nearby, and he gradually calms down. As he leans closer, his hand accidentally brushes against the bag Seou brought with her. The bag tips over, spilling everything onto the floor. Wonhyeok quietly looks down at the contents. At the same time, back at home, Jiwon struggles to sleep. Eventually, she gets out of bed and walks toward the window. Her eyes drift toward the stairs outside, the same place where Seou and Wonhyeok used to sit together years ago. A memory returns to her. Earlier that night, her mother had told her not to be so harsh on Seou while she was staying with them. Jiwon defended herself, insisting that Seou had somewhere else she could go anyway. But then she noticed her mother quietly packing snacks and drinks into Seou's bag for her trip. After her mother left the room, Jiwon silently thought to herself that her mother probably wished Seou wasn't there either. It's then revealed that Jiwon secretly slipped something embarrassing into Seou's bag earlier, hoping it would pressure her into staying somewhere else instead of lingering around the house. She steps outside to call her, but couldn't go through. She hears footsteps approaching. When she saw the person, she freezes. Meanwhile, inside the bunker, Seou slowly wakes up. Still half asleep, she looks around the dark room, trying to figure out how much time has passed. But almost immediately, she notices something strange. Wonhyeok is gone. Seou looks around the bunker. She rushes toward the hatch and tries opening it again, but it's still locked shut. Then she checks the bathroom. Empty. She hurries through the corridor, opening doors and searching every nearby room. Nothing. Wonhyeok is nowhere to be found. Seou slowly stops in the middle of the corridor, breathing uneasily as the silence of the bunker closes in around her once again. Morning arrives. While eating breakfast, Jiwon's mother gently asks if she had trouble sleeping. Jiwon quietly says yes. Her father interrupts. He casually says that he slept perfectly fine, probably because he didn't have to walk on eggshells in his own house, for once. Then he tells Jiwon that Seou should stay at her friend's house more often. She quietly puts down her chopsticks and stands up. Her mother asks if she's already done eating, but Jiwon simply says she's not hungry anymore. Trying to lighten the mood, her mother says she'll make something nice for dinner and asks what she wants to eat later. Jiwon doesn't answer. She just walks outside. For a moment, she stares toward Wonhyeok's house nearby, but she quickly looks away. Meanwhile, deep underground, Seou is slowly falling apart. Her thoughts begin spiraling as panic quietly consumes her. How did he leave if the hatch is locked? Why would he leave her alone there? She tries convincing herself that someone will eventually notice she's missing. The bunker isn't that far from town. It's not far from school either. Surely someone will look for her soon, right? But the more she thinks about it, the less convincing it sounds. Even when she's standing right in front of people, everyone acts like she doesn't exist anyway. At school, at home, it's always been the same. So, who would actually bother searching for her? The thought terrifies her more than the darkness around her. If Wonhyeok doesn't come back, then she'll be trapped down there completely alone, forever. And that fear drags her mind back to the past, to the loneliness she felt after losing her parents in the accident. Then suddenly, a sound echoes through the corridor. Seou quickly looks up. Wonhyeok is standing there in front of her, holding a box in his arms. Relief hits her so suddenly that she immediately stands up, but the moment Wonhyeok sees her pale face and trembling body, his expression changes. He walks closer and places a hand against her forehead to check her temperature. He quietly says she doesn't have a fever. But before Seou can even respond, her exhausted body gives out, and she collapses against him. At school, the rain continues pouring heavily outside the classroom windows. As class begins, the teacher notices an empty seat and asks Jiwon where Seou is. The classroom immediately fills with whispers. Everyone now knows their cousins, yet they act like complete strangers at school. Jiwon avoids looking at anyone and quietly says, "I don't know, and they aren't that close." The teacher nods before saying she'll try calling Seou herself. Before leaving the room, she warns the class not to fool around while she's gone. As soon as the teacher leaves, the students begin whispering again. One boy notices that Wonhyeok is absent too. Another says that isn't unusual since he skips school all the time and that even the teachers have probably given up on him. But then someone else remembers something important. Back in elementary school, Seou and Wonhyeok used to be close. Jiwon silently looks outside at the rain. Her eyes slowly drift toward the old wall where the bunker is hidden. Back underground, Seou slowly wakes up again. Wonhyeok is sitting in the corner, quietly sorting through old boxes nearby. Seou watches him silently, realizing he wasn't gone for very long after all. But even so, the fear of him disappearing again still lingers inside her chest. She never wants to feel that loneliness again. At this point, being trapped down there with him feels less terrifying than being left completely alone. Seou slowly walks toward him and asks what he's looking for. Without looking up, Wonhyeok says he's searching for things she can use. Then he hands her a toothbrush, telling her to take it. Seou says she already has one in her bag, but Wonhyeok quietly replies by asking if she really wants to use the things inside that bag. Confused, she asks what he means. After a short pause, he simply says that if he were her, he wouldn't want to touch them. Seou immediately realizes he must have seen what was inside earlier when the bag spilled open. She quietly wonders if he knows her aunt packed most of those things for her. After hesitating for a moment, she accepts the toothbrush. And once again, her thoughts become conflicted. Why is he acting like he actually cares about her? She's still convinced he trapped her there for revenge after she abandoned him years ago. So why? Does this feel completely different from before?